Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei's true nature unveiled at a new school? Part 1. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Issei Hyoudou, an ordinary boy that is what he would be labeled as, or maybe an antisocial freak. Issei goes to the school Kuo Academy as of now. He was transferred to this school recently, and now his first day at school will begin. Monday. It was a sunny day and Issei was walking to school. He was pretty exhausted because he was up all night thinking about his new school and all other things related to that. When Issei came to the front of the school, he breathed in the air and sighed. Maybe this isn't that bad. The crimson-haired girl looked at the new student from an old school building. That building is now used by the Occult Research Club, aka ORC. You move, Riaz. Akeno said. Techmate. Riaz said. Ooh, I am no match for you. Akeno said with a sad tone. Kaneko, I want you to give me some information about this new student. Riaz said. Yes, I will get right to it then. Kaneko said with a monotone voice. Let's see, I think it was class 1C. Issei thought for himself while looking around the corridors of the school. After a few minutes of walking, he found class 1C. Hello, I am new here. Issei said a bit nervously. Oh, so you must be the transfer student. The teacher said. Yes, I am supposed to be here, right? Issei said. If you are Issei Hyoudou, then yes. The teacher smiled. Issei nodded in response. You can sit next to Kaneko-chan. The teacher said, pointing towards an empty desk at the far back of the classroom next to a window. Issei walked to this desk and sat down. He felt a pair of eyes staring at him but ignored it, knowing it was the white-haired little girl, also known as Kaneko. At the end of the day, Issei was pretty comfortable with his school. He was though at the center of attention, and he didn't like it as much as you think some people would. As Issei was walking home, he smiled as he thought. This will certainly be interesting. In a tree not far from Issei, a small individual with white hair was looking at him with an intense gaze. At Issei's home there were a bunch of books and stuff that looked like they were from the 1800th century, but that is because they are. Imagine Issei's home as an old-fashioned style from 1700. Issei went to the living room and sat down in his comfy leather armchair in front of the open fireplace. He took a sip of his tea and chuckled while smiling. Are you sure? Riaz said. Definitely, Issei is no threat, Riaz. Kaneko said. You will keep observing him until I say so, is that understood, Kaneko? Riaz said, raising her voice. Yes, I understand. Kaneko said, walking out of the room. The fireplace was warm and Issei fell asleep with a smile on his face. Tuesday. Better go to school or I will be late. Issei said, looking out of the window. In the classroom, Issei was looking out of the window, not really listening to the teacher because Issei didn't really care about school. Issei, what happened 1945? The history teacher asked. The end of World War II happened. Issei said. Very good, but do you know who the 7th US president was? The teacher asked while smiling. Andrew Jackson, Issei said. What? The teacher said. Andrew Jackson was the 7th US president. Issei said again. The whole class was surprised and the teacher was sweating bullets. Kaneko was also quite surprised. She thought also as the other classmates that Issei didn't care about school and was just the typical bad boy in school. But no, he surprised them big time, and this made Kaneko very curious. At the end of the day, Issei had surprised every teacher. Issei knew much, even though it looks like he doesn't pay any attention, thought Kaneko. At the ORC. Any new info on Issei? Riaz asked. Well, he certainly knows a lot of stuff, Kaneko said. So is that the only thing about him then? A blonde-haired teen said. I think you should try to be his friend, Kaneko, and get some more information, a purple-haired beauty said. The ORC consists of 4 teens, 3 girls and 1 boy. The boy's name is Kiba, he has a handsome face and has blonde hair and he is deeply liked by the girls of the school. Kaneko has white hair and is pretty small and is considered as the school mascot. Akeno has purple hair, a big chest and is considered as one of the most beautiful girls on the school. The most beautiful girl on the school is Riaz Gremory. She has crimson red hair and also a big chest, but not as big as Akeno. Both Akeno and Riaz have long hair, though Akeno has a ponytail, while Riaz has her hair hanging freely. Issei was thrashing in his sleep. Why, you might ask? Well, that is because he is dreaming. In Issei's dream. Do you really think you can defeat me? Issei said while blood spurted out of his mouth. We already have Issei, boyless. A girl in a robe said, holding out her hand towards Issei. More blood gushed out of Issei and he fell to his knees. There were now a total of 14 robed individuals moving towards Issei chanting boyless. Issei got up on his feet, then he got hit by an aluminum baseball bat on his knees and was quickly sent down again. Not so fast, Issei, the male smirked. Fools, Issei said quietly. And here you Issei, are you crying for your friends or maybe your family? Well, too bad because they are all dead. He began laughing. Issei, now angry, sad, moved at the speed of light and ripped out the man's heart. His laughter slowly died out between the blood that was coming out of his mouth and chest. Issei went into frenzy and killed all the witches' magicians. I will never give up, one by one they will all fall, Issei said with a murderous smile. Issei woke up sweating in the middle of the night. He decided that it would be best if he stayed up instead. Issei went down the stairs and to the kitchen, made some tea, and later walked to the living room where he slumped down into his comfy armchair. Wednesday. On the way to school, Issei had a flashback. Our blood flowed from Issei's chest. Prepare to die, worthless piece of trash, a man said. Never. Issei stretched out his hand and gripped the man's throat and tightened his hold. The man was suffocating and now crying. He was desperately trying to get Issei off him, but in the end the man died. Issei was breathing heavily and pulled out. End of flashback. Issei smiled, thinking about his past. Sure, there were many horrific moments and intense battles, but in the end Issei always ended up on top. He has grown with time, gotten stronger, braver and so on. The school bell rang and all students went to their classes. Issei did as he normally would on a school day. The commotion has also quieted down now, so all was good. Issei was a loner, and no students were bothering him except Kaneko, who was following him like always, but this day she walked up to him and started talking. Hi, my name is Kaneko. Hi. So do you want to eat together, Issei? I can call you Issei, right? You can call me that, I see no problem with you calling me by my name, and for eating together, well sure. Issei said, smiling. This seems rather fishy, but it will probably be interesting, and maybe I could figure out why she has stalked me since day one. Let's go then, Issei, said Kaneko in a monotone voice. They walked to the cafeteria and sat down at a table. There was an awkward atmosphere around them, but they just kept eating their lunch and didn't talk. Rias and her friends, Kiba and Akeno, saw that it wasn't going too well with Issei, so they decided to step in. The three of them sat down with Issei and Kaneko. Hi, can we sit here with you? Rias asked, smiling. I don't see a problem with it, are they your friends, Kaneko? Yes, they are my friends, Kaneko replied. So how do you like this school so far, Issei? Rias asked, still smiling. It is okay, I suppose, Issei said in monotone. What are they planning? This is really fishy. Do you have a girlfriend, Issei? Akeno asked. No, I haven't got a girlfriend, Issei said. Akeno licked her lips, but it gave no effect on Issei, or that was what they thought at least. Well, I better go to class if I don't want to be late, see ya, Issei said, walking away. Issei waited outside the cafeteria for a little while, and as on cue they started talking about him. As expected, Issei smirked. Although he was smirking, he was a bit sad that they had an ulterior objective behind trying to befriend him. So what have you found out about Issei? Rias asked. So she is calling the shots. Nothing new really, he is no threat, Rias, Kaneko said. Well, if he is, I will have some fun, yes. Akeno sucked on her finger. So what do we do now, Rias? Kiba asked. Kaneko could observe him for a little while longer, or maybe we should end it, he might just be a normal high school student, Rias said. Then it's settled, keep tabs on him, Kaneko, we believe in you. They all left the cafeteria, but Issei was not outside the cafeteria. So Kaneko is going to keep following me, well, I think we should end this little game now, Issei thought as he was smirking. At home, Issei was reading books, a lot of them. He was also training in his secret training room, also fueling up to prepare himself. Issei was having a blast of a time. Right now he was reading the Book of the Ancient Magics. He trained for several hours until he finally went to bed. Tomorrow, anything can happen, I better be prepared, ha, I hope they are too for their own good. Thursday. Issei Hyoudou, a boy man who has suffered worse than any other creature in this world, and he is truly a force to be reckoned with. On the way to school, Issei immediately knew he was being followed by Kaneko again. As the school day slowly comes to an end, Issei looks out of the window in his last class and smiles. In the reflection of the window he smirks to Kaneko, and this scares Kaneko a bit. So the class ends and all students goes home, almost everyone at least. Issei is on his way home and he passes a playground, then suddenly he stops and say. I know you have been following me around, Kaneko. Kaneko surprised but shows herself. Why are you following me, Kaneko? Kaneko remains silent, thinking what she is supposed to do now. This is really an uncomfortable situation to be in. So you are going to remain silent, I see, well, I know I can't trust you, and I think you know that. You can tell your friends and your leader, Rias Gremory, to stop snooping around. I don't like that you are trying to deceive me and befriend me with another goal in mind. He knows. Yes, I do know, Kaneko, Issei said, turning around and showed her a wicked smile. So do we have a deal, Kaneko? Issei said, stretching out his hand. Boom. Smoke and small flames covered the ground in front of Issei. Don't touch her, Issei. Rias yelled. Rias had casted some sort of destruction spell, are they? Soon after Rias came Kiba and Akeno. Akeno was flying in the sky with devil wings. Devils? What do you guys want? Information about you, well either way, you have seen too much, so it is time for us to put you down, Rias said with a serious tone. Akeno shot thunder towards Issei, and Rias shot destruction power against Issei. Issei dodged the attack. Then a sword appeared and started chopping, but Issei just dodged every swing from Kiba's sword. Now Kaneko joined the fight with her fists. She also tried to roundhouse kick Issei, but Issei dodged every attack they made. They were getting tired now. Is this all you have, Rias Gremory? Issei smirked. Now it's my turn. Issei rushed towards Kiba and delivered a powerful fist into his liver, but that was just 10% of Issei's power, and the result was Kiba spurting out blood and fell to his knees, dropping his sword. Rias and the others just stared at what happened at their eyes. So he isn't an ordinary human, Rias thought. Blood was gushing out of Kaneko's mouth too, and she was holding her left side where the kidney was located. Issei was still only using 10% of his power, and he even hadn't used magic yet. Issei jumped and delivered a kick into Akeno's stomach, making her fly and crash against a tree, rendering her unconscious. Rias was now the only one standing, and all this happened in a matter of 10 seconds. Please stop this, we will not kill you or stalk you again, I promise. Rias now began sobbing. Yes, I will stop this, because I will put you down so you will never do this again, he began laughing maniacally. He grabbed her by the throat and raised her from the ground while tightening his grip little by little. Please Issei do an apostrophe T do this. She was having big trouble speaking to the lack of oxygen and her throat being slowly crushed. He released his grip on her throat and she fell to the ground. This is a warning, Rias Issei said. That was the last thing she remembered before darkness fell upon her eyes. The sky was dark and the only thing you could hear was the sound of the rain that poured down. Issei Hyoudou was sitting on a bench in the forest. Was he crying? No, but even though you might be an emotionless monster, you still have feelings. Issei had locked up his emotions a long time ago when his family and friends died. The key to the chest that holds his emotions are long forgotten, no clue where it is or how it can be found. Issei looked down at his hands, wondering how it could have come to this, but there was no avoiding it. There will always be someone trying to make you feel bad or push you down, take away your happiness. He doesn't know why he even thought this would be any different from any of the other times, it always ends up the same. No love, no hope. A tear formed and ran down his cheek. Aria screamed. She looked around her and soon found out that she was in the clubhouse, you know, that old building near the school that is never used but is now used by the occult research club. Kiba and Kaneko was getting medical treatment by Akeno. She was not as badly hurt as the other two. Rias though was sore in the throat, but that was nothing compared to the broken liver and kidney Kiba and Kaneko suffered from. You're going down, down, you walked all over me, and you never thought I'd be the one who's laughing now that you're going down. Issei sang in his mind. Is everyone alright, Akeno? Rias asked, worried. Yes, they will be alright, but they were on the edge of dying, so much blood, there was so much blood. Akeno said, looking a bit terrified. She composed herself and began to look outside the window to see if. Akeno, do you remember what happened? We were following Issei and Kaneko, then Issei saved us from something. Yeah, I too remember something similar, there was a monster that surprised us, then Issei saved us. Unknown to the two beauties, the small beauty had awoken and she had a look of horror in her eyes. She remembered what the others couldn't and she was terrified because she knew that Issei is the monster, he didn't save them and he attacked them, if not almost murdering all four of them. How would she go to class when Issei is seated next to her? His wicked smile, his eyes filled with hate and sorrow. She opened her eyes and saw Issei standing right in front of her, grabbing her throat and tightens his grip, which resulted in her squirming, trying to break free. She was running out of air quickly. If he kept up with this, she would pass out. Kaneko, don't worry, I will take care of you as you took care of me, and do you remember pretending to be my friend, stalking me, trying to kill me? Issei said, then he licked her cheek, a saliva thread formed as he pulled away. Kaneko had opened her eyes to the largest, her pupils were small, and they were shaking in fear, and then everything went black. Kaneko screamed. Rias and Akeno quickly went to Kaneko, who was now breathing heavily while sweating. Issei chuckled, never underestimate someone, this is the punishment for you taking me as a fool. Kaneko sobbed in Ria's arms and looked out of the window where she thought she saw something, but she decided that she probably was just imagining things. Friday. Issei was drinking tea in his armchair this morning before school. He was happy, at least it looks like he is, but who knows what the fuck is going around in his head. Issei brushed his teeth, got dressed and went to school. He was glad that the last day of school was here, Saturday and Sunday equals no school, but he pondered if anyone would greet him. He did save them, so yeah, they probably would and ask a bunch of questions, blah blah. As Issei entered school grounds he was instantly hugged by Rias, her soft big breasts was touching him, it was heaven. He soon came to his senses and pushed her off him. "What are you doing, Rias?" Issei asked smiling. "I will play this charade, it might be fun, eh?" "Well, you saved me yesterday, and this is my way of thanking you," Rias said happily. "I see," Issei said, but he turned his head and saw Keno standing beside him tugging at his arm. "Issei, I want to thank you too." She then hugged him, and Issei was in heaven once again for a moment before Keno pulled away. "We can discuss this later, and don't worry, I will keep your devil's secret, so don't worry," Issei said, waving goodbye as he went to his class. At class, Kaneko was already at her seat looking out of the window, but she quickly turned her gaze elsewhere when Issei sat down at his desk. He sighed, not really wanting to deal with this, but if he doesn't, Kaneko will most likely cause problems for him. So Issei turned towards Kaneko and said, "Kaneko, are you alright?" "I'm okay," she replied almost like a whisper. "If you say so, but I want to talk with you later, is that okay?" "I really do not want to talk with him alone, maybe if." "I see, so she is scared, well I will go with it then," Issei smirked. "Issei, you can come by the clubhouse later, we can talk then, okay?" "Sure, sounds good," Issei smiled. At the end of school, Issei walked towards the clubhouse whistling to himself. He opened the door but he couldn't step inside. This made Issei a bit irritated, he yelled. "Hello? Anyone home?" "Oh hello Issei, we have waited for you," Rias said. "Can I come in?" Issei asked politely. "Of course, come in, make yourself at home," Rias said smiling. Issei smiled, then took a step and walked into the building. He followed Rias to the living room where everyone else had gathered. Everyone was smiling, although Kaneko's smiling was not genuine, and it was clearly a facade. "So Kaneko, you have acted very strangely as of today," Issei said, still smiling. "He knows, I'm sure of it, what am I supposed to do now? Everyone else doesn't remember a goddamn thing, except this fantasy of Issei saving us all." Kaneko thought. "Oh, you have, Kaneko, why?" Akeno asked. Kaneko said, trying to come up with something to say. "Is it maybe because I saved you and you are shy?" Issei said, patting Kaneko on the head. This resulted in a blink of an eye. Kaneko grabbed Issei's hand and snapped it. She then backed away quickly, getting into a fighting stance. "Kaneko?" the two beauties screamed. "Apologize right away to Issei." Kaneko refused to apologize to this bastard, she would rather die than apologize to this monster. My, you are a feisty little girl, aren't you?" Issei said, smiling before he fixed his hand. Issei was approaching Kaneko slowly, but suddenly flames erupted from the floor and a man stepped out of the flames. "Rias, my lovely soon-to-be bride, come now, we shall be preparing for the party," the man said. "Riser, I have already told you that I do not want to marry you," Rias said. "But you must, don't you remember what our families decided on?" Riser said as he began touching Ria's leg. "I said no. You will marry me, if you don't I will burn every one of these low-class devils to ashes." "She doesn't want to marry you, shithead," Issei said. "Why, you little. Issei, stop," Rias said. "No, I don't think anyone should be forced into a marriage, and as I see this, you clearly do not like this guy, right?" Issei said, walking towards Riser. "So please go back to where you came from, bird brain. Do you even know who you are talking to? I am Riser Phoenix." "I don't actually give a fuck," Issei said. "Enough." A woman in maid's clothes yelled. Her brother knew something like this would happen, so he decided that a rating game would set the score of the argument, the maid said. "I am up for it," Issei yelled. "Issei, don't you will be," Rias said quietly. "Don't worry, I will teach this asshole not to mess with you," Issei gave thumbs up to Rias. "Geez, all of this just too well, it's only a small price for a big reward." "Then let the battle begin," the maid said. "Now Issei will disappear, I hope," Kaneko thought to herself. Issei and the others were teleported to an arena, but Issei was the one fighting against Riser and his peer. Yeah, Issei knows what is going on, he has been around for a long time. The arena was the school grounds, and Issei started at the clubhouse and rushed towards the gym. He was expecting the whole or at least some people to come there, it was the middle of the battleground. In the gym he saw everyone except Riser and his queen. Two pawns were charging at Issei, but in a flash he quickly delivered a punch right into their stomach, in an instant they both fell to the ground and disappeared in blue powder. "Two pawns, Riser retired," the announcer said. Two more pawns dressed like maids began swinging their fists towards Issei, but he quickly dodged them with ease and swept them off their feet and they landed on the ground with a thump. "Two pawns, Riser retired," the announcer said. Issei wasn't even breaking a sweat. Rias and her peerage watched the match and were pretty surprised. Kaneko, however, was quite terrified, but she was clinging on to the hope that Issei would die, because you know. Two girls with chainsaws and two other girls who looked like cats started to surround Issei. "You can't possibly defeat all of us, Naya. I will chop you to pieces for disrespecting Riser." Issei just smiled at them and disappeared, he left them confused. Issei was now behind a rook dressed in Chinese clothing. He sent a jab to her throat and she went down, and as the other rook was coming from the side with a wild haymaker, Issei just side kicked her in the stomach and she went down. "Two rooks, Riser retired," the announcer spoke. "How is this possible? End this now," Riser yelled. Issei ran into the gym again and slapped one of the catgirls, and she went flying into the wall. He then proceeded with a 20% power low kick to the other catgirl, and she screamed in agony before she disappeared in a blue cloud of powder. The two remaining pawns with chainsaws looked dumbfounded, and before you know it, Issei delivered 5% power fist into both of their kidneys, resulting in both girls' defeat. "Poor pawns, Riser retired," the announcer said. "That was easy," Issei said, laughing. Issei jumped up into the air, and beneath him were two girls with swords, and both of their swords were stuck into the floor of the gym. He dove down and dragged out both swords and stabbed both girls with their own sword. "Two knights, Riser retired," the announcer said. It was now only Riser and his queen left, and with that Issei went out of the arena. Boom. There was a huge crater where Issei had been standing, but there was magical shield around him, protecting him. "Sneak attacks won't do you any good," Issei said before leaping into the air and delivering 5 punches into the queen's stomach. Issei dived down onto the school building's roof and landed while he waited for the announcer to say, "Queen, Riser retired." "Hey there boy, I really didn't think you would make it this far, but the more you know, now watch me as I turn your body into ashes. I am older than you, bird brain." "What?" The scream echoed throughout the battleground. Issei had penetrated Riser's chest and was slowly pulling out his heart. "What are you doing? This is an important marriage for the devil community, stop this now," Riser screamed. In response, Issei low kicked Riser's right leg and made Riser scream even more. "Stop this," Arg's blood was pouring out of Riser's mouth and chest. "As you wish, Riser, I will stop it by killing you." Issei showed him his wicked smile and began ripping out his heart while watching Riser choke on his own blood. "Stop, don't hurt him, you win, please don't hurt my brother," a blonde girl said. "Do you think I am stupid? Of course I have won, I am ripping him apart, done move, or I'll have to kill you too." The blonde girl, whose name is Ravel Phoenix, blushed slightly. "I can't be killed at Arg," Riser said, spurting out more blood. "Are you willing to test that theory, Riser?" Issei asked, licking his lips. "Maybe someone for you, Akeno, don't you think?" Ria said, winking to Akeno. Akeno just blushed and resumed watching Issei. "I surrender." Those were the last words Riser spoke before everyone disappeared out of the arena. Back at the clubroom. "Issei, thank you so much," Ria said, hugging Issei before kissing him on the lips. Issei blushed and was kind of shocked. He didn't really expect that, but he did expect that she would be grateful. "That was some great fighting," Issei, Akeno said, winking at him. "Nice job," Issei, Kiba said. I think that was the first time he have ever talked. Kaneko was just scared, looking at Issei while he was laughing and enjoying himself with her friends. He didn't even break a sweat, no burn marks. Who is he? What is he? He sure is powerful. Issei, how old are you? Riaz asked. I am over 1,000 years old, why do you ask? Issei smiled and then looked at Kaneko. What? Riaz said, very surprised, she really wasn't sure if she heard right. I said that I am 16 years old, Issei said, smiling. Oh, I thought you said over 1,000 years old, haha, Riaz said, laughing. Yeah, that would be ridiculous, right? Issei said, scratching the back of his head. You are clearly not a normal boy, Issei, so what are you? Akeno said with a seductive voice. What should I say? Ooh, I know. Issei thought. I am a witch or warlock, it is kind of the same thing, Issei said, smiling. I see, but you are very skilled in hand-to-hand combat though, Issei Kiba said. Yeah, that is because you should cover your weak points, Issei said, still smiling. After some small talk and celebration of the great Issei that saved Ria's Gremory, Issei left the clubhouse and began walking home in deep thought. Now that I have their trust, if only I could get a little bit closer to Ria's, I am sure I can meet the Devil King. Issei smiled and chuckled evilly. Issei reached his home, he went inside, began reading and doing some training in his training room. After this he did as he usually does and plumped down on his comfy armchair in front of his fireplace. The smell of burnt wood was wonderful, now I will continue with my plan, Issei thought to himself. Riaz, there is something that I have to tell you, Kaneko said while shivering. Yes, Kaneko, what is it? Riaz said with a motherly voice. Issei is evil, don't trust him. Kaneko said looking down. Ara Kaneko, Issei haven't done anything wrong, there is no need to be greedy, I am just very grateful that Issei have saved me twice now, but don't worry, I will pay attention to you too, Riaz said smiling while patting Kaneko's head. No. Kaneko yelled with teary eyes looking directly at Riaz. Riaz backed away and looked at Kaneko and waited for her to continue. Riaz, he is not someone you can trust, he is lying, he is a monster, we aren't safe here, we should kill him or transfer school, Kaneko said hysterically. Rias felt sorry for Kaneko because Kaneko was in love with Issei and she didn't want her to take Issei all for himself. So Rias sighed and crouched down to Kaneko's level. Kaneko, I know if you want Issei's attention, why don't you write a love letter or try to be alone with him? I can probably try to make so you and Issei are alone, Rias said, winking to Kaneko. Kaneko now was at the brink of falling into a deep depression. What happened to Rias? Kaneko thought to herself while softly crying. Issei grabbed Ria's hand and led her to a room where they were alone. What are you doing, Issei? Rias said, slightly blushing. Where are we going? Issei pushed Rias up the wall and looked her in the eyes. Rias was flushing like crazy, but Issei was cool as ice. Rias, I am not evil, you can trust me. If Kaneko says to you that I am evil, she is probably trying to get me to herself because she is in love with me, Issei said, looking into Ria's eyes. So if Kaneko says that I am evil, she is in love with you and wants you all to herself because she is greedy, Rias said with emotionless eyes. If anyone else says that I am evil, they are only, Issei said. They want you for themselves, Rias said. Good, now forget that we had this conversation and go back to the party, Issei said. I won't let you deceive my friends, Issei, I will destroy you, prepare yourself. Kaneko said, wiping her eyes, and ran out of the clubhouse, then ran to Issei's house. All my friends tricked by this Issei, I will show him the pain I have suffered because of him, he is just a weak high school boy, I will torture him, no, he doesn't deserve to live another minute, I will snap his neck, burn his body. He made me weak, he messed with me, and now he is going to pay the price, Kaneko thought as her anger was boiling. She was now approaching the door to his house. Issei's house looked pretty old, but that is just because Issei is a weirdo, and now he is going to die. Kaneko slowly opened the door, it wasn't locked, what a fool. She walked into the house and saw that the style was clearly out of date, as expected of a weirdo. There were paintings hanging on the wall, they really looked depressing. One painting looked like a child crying while having a sword penetrating his chest. A sick weirdo that probably likes children in pain. Now Kaneko was entering the living room, and there she saw the back of the head of Issei. I have been expecting you, Issei said. Then you probably know what I want, Kaneko said. A kiss maybe? Issei said, teasing Kaneko. Yeah, sure, come over here and let me kiss you, Kaneko said, smiling. Issei put the cup on a small wooden table that was next to the armchair and got up. He walked over to Kaneko and crouched down and closed his eyes. Fool, Kaneko thought as she took her hands and snapped Issei's neck. Issei fell to the floor, stone dead. He is dead, finally dead, Kaneko thought happily. I can't imagine what Rias sees in you or any other creature on this planet would, you are just a waste of space, she said with venom in her voice. The words echoed through the air, just a waste of space, waste of space. Pathetic, fool, worthless, creep, weak, piece of shit. Kaneko spit on Issei's corpse and kicked him in the ribs. Just as I thought, weak and naive, I don't even know why I was afraid of you, look at you, you are dead, I am alive, I won, you lost, haha. Issei began moving and got up and was now standing in front of Kaneko and showed her his wicked smile and his psycho eyes. How are you alive? Why are you not dead? Kaneko yelled and shot a punch towards Issei. Issei grabbed Kaneko's fist with one hand and then threw her to the wall, paintings on the wall fell down. He slowly walked towards Kaneko who was struggling to get up, she had gotten on her knees and hands, and when she looked up she saw a hand coming towards her and it grabbed her by the hair and then a fist connected with her jaw. She flew across the room and landed on the floor, now rolling a bit before crashing into another wall. How is the pain, Kaneko? It is nothing compared to what I have felt, Issei said with an emotionless voice. She got up on all four again, but then Issei kicked her right in the ribs and something cracked. I heard she fell to the floor again. It hurts, doesn't it, Issei said, still with no emotion. He took her by the school uniform shirt and threw her so she crashed into his couch and the couch tipped over. These furniture are antique, so please, Kaneko. I will kill you, Kaneko said quietly. What did you say? I can't hear you, Issei said, smiling. I will kill you. Kaneko got up and tried to kick Issei in the ribs, but he just sidestepped and dodged the attack. Oh, you are well, I'm waiting, Issei said, spreading his arms to show her that she could attack him. Kaneko formed her hand like a fist and sprinted towards Issei, hoping that she would smash his head. Issei just took her by the throat and squeezed a bit, she lost all her power and her arm dropped to the side. IsseixHarem, Kaneko was losing oxygen. He smiled at her and then lifted her up into the air and formed a fist with his other hand and punched her in the right kidney, his pav. Was the only thing she could muster out while being strangled. Issei then proceeded by ripping at the top of her school uniform, showing off her pink bra. Kaneko was terrified more than usual, of course. Is he going to rape me, Kaneko thought as she regretted coming her. Uragu, that was the sounds that came from Kaneko's mouth, along with a flood of dark blood, covering Issei's hand in blood and a big area on Kaneko's chest. She was covered in bruises and in blood. Issei had penetrated her chest and was thinking of pulling Kaneko's heart out. Blood was gushing out and Kaneko had a few spazzes now and then. Her eyes had almost rolled all the way back into her skull. Her mouth was constantly pouring blood and sometimes blood would come shooting out. "Kaneko," Issei said quietly. He then kissed her on the forehead. "Where is Kaneko?" Akeno asked. "I don't know, maybe training with Rias," Kiba said. It was then Rias came into the living room and asked. "Have anyone seen Kaneko?" Both of ORC members looked worried, maybe something happened to her or maybe she just wanted to be alone. "No, we thought she was with you," Kiba said. "No, I haven't seen her since we talked about Issei," Rias said. She then realized maybe she confessed her love to him and they are right now doing some kinky stuff. Rias was drooling a bit and looked perverted. Ara, what are you thinking, President?" Akeno asked, licking her lips, leaning closer to Rias. Rias snapped out of her fantasy and told them what she and Kaneko talked about some hours before she disappeared. All three of them wondered if they should be worried or not. They decided that they would call Kaneko and check if she was alright. Beep. No one is answering, she probably is busy with something so she can't hear her phone, maybe we should try to call Issei, Rias said. Beep. Hello, Issei here. Hello Issei, I was wondering if Kaneko perhaps is with you. Yes, she is here. Good, can I talk to her, real quick? About that, she can't, I'm afraid, she is a bit occupied at the moment, I am truly sorry. Oh okay, but ask her to call me back later, then okay? Yeah, no problem Rias, take care and say hello to everyone else and a special hello to Akeno, bye. Beep. So what did he say? Akeno asked. He says hi, especially you, Rias said, winking. Akeno blushed and looked down. So how was Kaneko? Kiba said. She was occupied, but he said that she would call later when she wasn't occupied, Rias said, smiling. So there is no need to worry? Kiba asked. Nope, she is in safe hands, Rias said. Saturday. Rias yawned. Rias got out of her bed and went to the bathroom and took a shower. The water poured down on her soft big breasts and ran further down to her legs. After she was done with that, she dressed herself, went to her kitchen and ate breakfast. Of course, she brushed her teeth too. I wonder if Kaneko has come home yet, she hasn't called either. Later, around 12 a.m. the sun was shining and Akeno and Rias were shopping. They were dressed in casual clothes, both girls had skirts. Have you heard anything from Kaneko? Akeno asked. No, and I guess you haven't either, I hope she is okay. It was you who told us not to worry, she is in safe hands, is he not? Yeah, you are right, now let's have some fun, Rias said, smiling. They went to many different shops, most of them sold clothes and accessories. They laughed and forgot about Kaneko. Do you feel the presence, Akeno? Rias asked with a serious voice. Yes, there is a fallen angel here, Akeno said, venom dripping from her words. We better be on our guard then, Rias said. Rainer, what do you think about this? Said a blonde girl dressed in sexy lingerie. You look sexy, Middled. Oh, thank you, Rainer, and what do you think, Kalwerner? Middled asked. I don't care, just pick something so we can leave already, Kalwerner said, annoyed. Geez, you are such a party pooper, Kalwerner, Middled said, pouting. Stop fighting, you two, we have important business later with a certain red-haired beauty, Rainer said. Whatever, Middled said before going into the changing room again, I'm buying this. As the day passes, Rias and Akeno went home with their belongings, only just to be greeted by Kiba. Kiba, what are you doing here? Akeno asked. I was wondering if any of you have heard anything from Kaneko. Kiba asked. No, we haven't actually, we can call again I suppose, and she has been gone for more than 12 hours now, Rias said. The three of them walked to the clubhouse and rested a bit before calling Issei to check on Kaneko. Beep. Hello, Issei here. Hello Issei, Kaneko hasn't called yet, what is going on? Have something happened? Rias asked. No, she is alright, she is a bit exhausted so she can't call any of you yet or for that matter talk, that is how tired she is, Issei said. I see, can we come over, we can help and. No, the thing she needs right now is rest, so if you guys come over it might only have a negative effect on her condition. Oh okay, well tell her that we are worried about her, okay? Sure, when she wakes up, she is sleeping right now. Okay, bye, Rias said before ending the call. Well? Kiba asked instantly after Rias put the phone down. She is sleeping and very exhausted and therefore she hasn't been able to call us or talk to us. Issei also said that she needs to rest and that we should not disturb her, Rias said, looking a bit down. I guess we'll have to wait until she is feeling better, Akeno said, smiling. Where am I? Asked Kaneko with a sluggish voice. No reply was heard, it was dead silent. Kaneko tried to move her arms but noticed her hands were chained to a wall. Please help me, her voice was quiet and you could hear that the words carried pain. She heard footsteps coming closer, she looked up from the ground and saw Issei. I see you have awoken, Kaneko, Issei said, smiling. Who are you? I am Issei, of course, your savior, Issei said, walking a bit closer. Kaneko spat on Issei's face and said. You are a monster and not a savior. You are far from being savior or even a human being, you sadistic. Slap. How dare you talk to me that way, you ungrateful, Issei said, trying to calm himself. There was a red handprint on Kaneko's cheek. She turned her head to face Issei. I'm sorry, what I mean is that you are a. Watch your tongue if you want to keep it, Issei said emotionlessly. I will ask you again, who are you? Kaneko said. Or maybe the question is, what are you? Well, that is for me to know and for you to ponder, Issei said, smirking. Issei began to leave the room where Kaneko was being held. Where are you going? I am going to train a couple of hours, Issei answered. The door slowly closed and the room was covered in darkness. The room was very cold, Kaneko shivered, all hope gone. Rias, Akeno, Kibarun, Kaneko said quietly, a tear ran down her cheek. Ahaha. You're weak, Issei said, a boy kicking him in the ribs. Yeah, said a girl kicking him in the head. There was a boy lying on the ground, he was covered in bruises, blood poured out from his mouth. He was surrounded by boys and girls, they were all making fun of him and abusing him. When they were done with their fun time, they went home. I promise that I will become stronger, I will not die, I will survive and become stronger. Issei sat down in his armchair, picked up his cup of tea and looked at the fire while drinking his tea. Sunday. Damn, that tastes good, I feel so much stronger now, Issei said. He put down his wine glass on the wooden table next to his armchair and got up and walked over to his bookcases. He dragged out a white book with a red mark on it. Suddenly a hidden passage opened up, Issei went down the stairs that had appeared behind the bookcase. After some walking, Issei came to a door that he opened only to find that Kaneko wasn't there. Fuck. Where could she have run off to? Fuck, this totally fucks up my plan, Issei thought as he ran outside. Somewhere in a forest a blood-covered girl in torn clothes was running like a madman, panting, sweating. She could hear leaves and branches, he was closing in on her. I can't give up now, who knows what he'll do if he catches me. Kaneko could see the clubhouse in the distance, she began running faster, she knew she wouldn't make it to the house in time, so she was forced to get inside another house and hide there. Issei could smell the scent of the Nekomata known as Kaneko, yes he knew that she was a Nekomata, as you might have noticed Issei know much, and he isn't someone you want to fight if you can avoid it. It was 8:23 am, there wasn't anyone around, so Issei was lucky no one have seen them, at least, he hopes no one has seen her. Kaneko saw her house, she decided she would be safe there, as she opened the door. Kaneko, did you really think you could hide from me? Issei said, smirking. Kaneko quickly ran inside and tried to close the door, but Issei didn't let that happen. Issei smiled and walked closer, but as he was going to go inside the house, he noticed instantly that he couldn't get inside, even if the door was wide open. Kaneko was quite shocked to say the least, but this wasn't a time to be impressed, she quickly ran to the living room and tried to call Rias. Issei walked down to the street and walked a bit further away to a wooden fence and began tearing up the wooden fence, and he held these long wooden sticks up like javelins. He walked into range of the house and aimed at the windows of the living room and began throwing them inside. Crash. The glass shattered and Kaneko fell to the ground, not that she got hit by just of sheer surprise. The wooden fence stake was stuck to the wall of the living room. Another stake came flying and stuck to the wall also. Both shots were close to impaling Kaneko, but she was lucky. Come out, Kaneko, don't make me kill you, Issei yelled. Please answer, Kaneko said to herself while holding the phone next to her ear. Hello, Rias speaking. Rias, help, I'm in my house, getting attacked, I need assistance. Okay, hide, we are on our way, right now, Rias said before ending the call. So you asked Rias to save you, do you want blood on your hands? Do you want me to kill them too? Issei said, walking around on the street. Kaneko was sobbing behind a couch in the living room, she was lying on the floor embracing her phone, praying she would be saved. Issei was running out of options, they would come soon, he couldn't get inside the house, and how would he explain why Kaneko was bruised up and her clothes torn, and why she is covered with blood? He decided that he should probably visit the underworld and hide there for the time being. But he didn't like to hide, he wasn't a coward, but if he is going to fulfill his plan, it probably is the best follow-up to this disaster. Kaneko, we are here. Rias yelled from the street. They heard small sobs from inside the house, they entered the house, finding Kaneko teary-eyed, covered in blood, torn clothes and bruises all over her body. Kaneko? Akeno yelled. Akeno ran to Kaneko and picked her up, she hugged her and whispered comforting words to her. The four of them walked out of her house, all three of them noticed that something clearly happened here, but didn't ask her, instead they went to the clubhouse. Knock, knock. Who's there? Me, Birdbrain, open the door now. Riser opened the door and in front of him was Issei standing there with a smile on his face. Issei walked into the castle mansion that Riser's family lived in. Riser was quite terrified of Issei because he knew that Issei could somehow kill him. Issei looked around only to find Ravel Phoenix's room. He knocked on the door and waited. The door opened and there stood Ravel, blonde hair and twintails and dressed in her pink dress with white frills and a magenta bow at the front. Ravel blushed when she noticed who stood in front of her, Issei Hyoudou, her crush. He stole her heart at the moment when he almost killed her brother. Strange girl, right? Can I come in, Ravel? Issei asked, bowing to Ravel. So polite, and he knows my name. Of course, Issei, Ravel said, stepping to the side, allowing him to enter her bedroom. So why are you here, Issei? Ravel asked, smiling. I needed to relax, there is so much stuff I have to think about, Issei said, smiling also. Well, you have come to the right place. Do you want to stay the night here? Ravel asked, blushing. Yes, if I'm allowed, Issei replied. I'm so happy now, if only he would agree on sleeping in my room now. You can sleep in my room if you want, Ravel said, looking away, her face all red. Yeah, sure, that sounds fun. I'm happy. Shit, I said that out loud. Issei hugged Ravel and felt her breasts touching his chest. It felt amazing, not too enormous or small. He smelled her scent, she smelled like strawberries. While Issei was enjoying himself, Ravel was blushing like crazy and her mind was thinking of many perverted thoughts. As night fell, the two teens fell asleep. Issei slept on a mattress on the floor. While Ravel slept in her bed dreaming lovely stuff about her and Issei. At the clubhouse. Do you feel better now, Kaneko? Riaz asked. Was the response the small girl gave. Akeno and Riaz were deeply concerned and they had so many questions, Kiba practicing his swordsman skills. Now Kaneko, who did this to you? Riaz asked. Issei replied, Kaneko, very quietly. What did you say, Kaneko? Riaz asked as she sat down next to Kaneko on the couch in the living room. Kaneko fidgeted a bit before repeating herself with more confidence. Issei did this, Kaneko said. Issei did this? Riaz asked, confused. Akeno was also confused, maybe Kaneko hasn't fully recovered from everything yet. No, he couldn't, he is our friend, and Riaz began. No, he isn't our friend or our savior, he is a monster hiding behind a mask, Kaneko said. I think you haven't fully recovered yet, Kaneko, we will talk later, okay? Riaz said, getting up. Kaneko grabbed Riaz's hand and looked her in the eyes and said. No, Issei is evil, you must believe me, he is planning something, he is dangerous, Kaneko said, more serious now. Riaz blinked a few times before saying. I believe you, Kaneko. I suddenly felt something disappear. No, there is no way, Kaneko, that bitch. Issei wrote a letter and left it on her nightstand, then he opened a portal and walked into it. Issei reappeared outside the clubhouse. Issei sensed something coming towards him, so he turned around and put his finger up, blocking the strike of the cold sword. Kiba, what are you doing? Issei said, smiling. Stop it with your smiling, we know who you are. Kiba yelled angrily. You now, Issei said, turning emotionless. Issei smacked away Kiba's sword and pushed his finger into Kiba's right shoulder, penetrating his skin. Issei quickly pulled out his finger and smiled. Kiba muttered. Blood was coming out and stained Kiba's white shirt. Kiba prepared to summon a sword, but Issei quickly roundhouse kicked Kiba in the stomach, making Kiba crash into a tree with such force that on impact with the tree, blood just shot out of Kiba's mouth. There was also a hole in Kiba's stomach with more blood coming out. He lost consciousness and closed his eyes. Riaz and the others heard the commotion outside and ran out of the building and saw Issei looking at them. Kaneko got into a fighting stance, but she quickly got out of it as she remembered how pointless it would be fighting someone like Issei. But that didn't Akeno and Riaz know, and she didn't have time to warn them because Akeno was already firing thunder at Issei. He dodged it, he's fast, Riaz said. IRRG blood gushed out and flooded the ground. Akeno fell to the ground, there was a hole in her stomach also. Issei simply punched her, and he was now looking at Riaz. Riaz, stop, you can't defeat Kaneko didn't finish the sentence in time before Riaz started shooting power of destruction towards Issei. He dodged them too, he was simply too fast for them, even Kiba couldn't match his speed, and with kick to ribs, Riaz crashed into the clubhouse's wall. All of them except Kaneko were badly injured, the battlefield was full of blood. Kaneko just stood there, knowing resistance was futile. Now Kaneko, where were we? Issei licked his lips and looked at the helpless Nekomata. Zuahim. Kaneko just stared at the mildly surprised Issei, who just had been hit by a light spear in the left shoulder. He pulled it out and threw it to the ground. Issei looked up in the sky and saw 3 fallen angels. Issei just smirked, how naive of them to think that they could kill him. He looked so hot with his evil eyes, squealed Meltled. Just kill him, Calrainer Rainier said, irritated. Calrainer prepared to throw another light spear, but Issei was gone. Where the fuck did he go? Thought Calrainer. Issei appeared out of nowhere behind the 3 fallen angels and delivered devastating kicks to Rainier and Middled, both of them fell to the ground unconscious. He then grabbed Calrainer's throat and threw her to the ground. She got up and threw a right hook at Issei, but he dodged it and grabbed her throat again, but this time he squeezed and squeezed until her head fell off. Left were a body and a head and a bunch of blood. Kaneko looked at the horrific scene in front of her. "Stop this now," a man said. "So you have finally arrived," Issei said, bowing to the man while wiping off some blood from his hand. "It is an honor to meet you, Surzich's Lucifer." Issei showed his wicked smile and psycho eyes. "Close your eyes, Kaneko, this will be very messy." Issei's eyes turned to a reddish color. "So Issei, what do you want?" Surzich's asked. "Nothing really," Issei said, tilting his head to the left. "I can give you a harem of girls, maybe a beautiful girl or power, a title." Surzich's began to negotiate. "No, I can already fulfill those wishes on my own, and do you not think I'm strong?" Issei said, looking into Surzich's eyes. "Surzich's kill Issei!" Kaneko screamed. Surzich's prepared to attack and started glowing red with destruction power. He then shot all his power towards Issei, but instead of dodging the attack, Issei stretched out his right hand and took the hit of the massive magic attack. The whole attack was blocked by Issei's palm. Surzich's, amazed how easily his attack was blocked, didn't hesitate before shooting small orbs of destruction towards Issei. To dodge these orbs, Issei began running. The orbs were closing in, but Issei backflipped and rolled, dodging 2 orbs. There was 1 orb left and it was only 5 centimeters away from colliding with Issei's face, but he simply ducked and the orb collided with a stone behind Issei, annihilating it. "You sure have some amazing skills," Issei Surzich's said, impressed. Issei crouched and picked up some pebbles, then he played a bit with them in his hand. He then threw the pebbles towards Surzich's. He didn't even see them coming before the small stones had penetrated his armor and flesh. "This power is tremendous," Surzich's thought before he crashed into a tree. Surzich's began to get up on his feet but was stopped by Issei. "Argfar RFFG!" Surzich's screamed while blood flushed out of his mouth. Surzich's looked down and saw that Issei had penetrated his armor hand flesh and that his hand was holding his beating heart. It was truly a horrific experience for the Mao. "It always ends with my hand in their chest. I wonder why," Issei thought while smiling at the terrified Devil King. "You are weak, Surzich's, this isn't even half my strength, yet you failed." Rafafifer Surzich's began to speak while blood gushed out from the spot where Issei had his hand shot through, and also blood was pouring from his mouth while he spoke. "Wh ad re brafig vyu?" Surzich's asked before he blacked out. "Now I have my chance," Kaneko thought as she quickly moved her arms towards Issei's neck. "When will you learn, Kaneko?" Issei spoke. Snap. Issei had turned. Yes, Kaneko had once again snapped Issei's neck, but this time it was different. Issei was still standing, and now his head slowly turned back into its right position. Kaneko was peeing her pants out of pure fear. Issei pulled out his hand out of Surzich's chest and looked at Kaneko. "What an unsuspected turn of events," Issei said, walking closer to Kaneko and put his hand under her chin and lifted it slightly up while looking into her eyes. "Forget this battle with Surzich's, the thing you are going to do is helping me carry your friends back to my house," Issei said, looking into Kaneko's eyes. "Yes, Issei, I will do that," Kaneko replied, emotionless. Issei walked over to Surzich's, who was groaning in pain. None of his wounds had healed. "Please don't kill them, I will do anything," Surzich's said between his coughing. Issei crouched down to Surzich's level and said. "Then give me your power," Issei said. "I will do that, but you have to promise to heal Ria's and her peerage," Surzich's said desperately. "Then it's settled," Issei said, laying his hand on Surzich's forehead. Issei and Surzich's began glowing red and then it stopped. Surzich's lost consciousness. Issei then placed Surzich's body on his back and carried him to his house, while Ria's and her peerage were carried by Kaneko. When they were at Issei's house, he ordered Kaneko to take them to his resting room. In that room there were many beds and looked a little bit like a hospital room. "Asia?" Issei yelled. "Yes, master, what is that you need?" Asia, a blonde girl dressed in nun's clothing, said. "I want you to heal these people, and later when they wake up, can you please make breakfast and such," Issei said with a calm voice. "Yes, master, I will be glad to," she said with a cheery voice. "Kaneko, you should rest too, so sleep for now." "Yes, Issei," replied Kaneko before climbing into a bed and closed her eyes, falling asleep. Issei left the room to Asia. He then went to his secret passage behind the bookcases. There, further inside the passage, Issei opened a door. It was a large heavy wooden door. Inside the room at the far back was Surzich's chained to the wall. "Now Surzich's, tell me more about Ria's and her peerage," Issei said, looking at the defeated Devil King. "Monday. My head hurts like hell," Ria said, holding her head. She looked around the room and saw the rest of her peerage. She quickly climbed out of bed and checked on Akeno and Kiba. Both of them had no longer gaping holes in their torso, thanks to Asia's healing ability. Ria's relieved that they were both alright, went and checked on Kaneko. She also seemed alright. Good, now where were they was the first thought that came in Ria's mind. Ria's began looking around the house and smelled the scent of bacon and other delicious treats from the kitchen area that was located next to the living room. Riaz tiptoed around the house, searching many rooms until she came across a study room it seemed like. The room was full of books. Riaz went and looked through the books, and there were many books about magic, devil magic, angel magic and other magic from different creatures. There were books about dark magic and books that covered healing and also hand-to-hand combat, sword techniques and yoga, cooking, and much more. She was amazed on how many books there were about so much different things. The person that owns this must be very knowledgeable. After a couple of minutes spent in the study room, Riaz found a very intriguing book that looked like journal or diary. Now everyone in the resting room had woken up and began to chit-chat, and such also the breakfast was ready to be eaten. Riaz looked at the book before opening it and looked inside. She read the text. Entry 1923 December 17. I have been observing Issei for many years now, he is truly an extraordinary individual. My conclusions isn't confirmed yet, I really do not know what species he is, I have seen him use magic, but it looks like he prefers close combat rather than long-range attacks with magic. I have seen him in the woods sometimes just sitting next to the river and it was almost that you could feel the pain that he holds. I really don't know what happened to him, but it must have really changed him, I'm sure of it. He helps people sometimes, but in these last years he has become more distant and emotionless. He usually avoids fighting, but he fights almost every night now, and not to speak about that he looks like he has gone mad. To anyone who reads this it is very crucial to approach Issei with caution. He might not look like a threat, but he is the most powerful creature I've seen in my years. In my years I have seen him struggle, gotten abused and harassed, it's very painful to even think about those memories. I really believe that there is a small shard of hope in his dark heart. But it might be too late, I can however give you some information dear reader on Issei. He has immense strength and willpower, he isn't afraid of anything, he doesn't underestimate anyone, and he is agile, fast, and intelligent. His fighting style seems to be a combination of all fighting styles, making it almost impossible to predict his attacks. Issei possesses a very strong regeneration ability, making it nearly impossible to injure him, he have huge pain endurance, and can keep fighting until he is victorious. He has died many times, but he just doesn't stay dead. I can't say any more, I think he is in this very room, beware. Riaz, what are you doing? Said a seductive voice. Riaz began. I think I will have to punish you, said the voice as the person came closer. Riaz let out a moan as the person's hand played with her breasts. The person looked Riaz in the eyes, and Riaz looked Issei in the eyes before they started making out. It was a fight between their tongues, an endless battle. Riaz moaned and started undressing Issei. Issei was rock hard and stopped their make-out session. Riaz pouted, but her pout turned into scream as Issei ripped out Riaz's heart, her pale curvy body dropped to the floor, blood gushing out. He held her heart in his hand and smelled it. Riaz screamed so it echoed through the whole house. Kiba, Akeno and Kaneko rushed to the study room finding Riaz crying as she was leaning towards the bookcases. Calm down Riaz, it was only a dream, Akeno said, trying to calm Riaz. It seemed so real, his lips, my heart, Riaz thought as her legs gave in and she fell, but Kaneko caught Riaz in her arms. She too had experienced something similar earlier in the clubhouse, she knew it is very scary, he could control their minds, or at least it looked like he could. Kaneko hated that man, she would kill him someday, she promised. Well, it looks like my fun time is over, Surziches, we shall continue later, thank you for your cooperation, Issei said walking out of the room, leaving Surziches alone in the darkness. As the ORC members were trying to get out of the house they found the kitchen and saw a beautiful looking girl preparing the dining table. Oh, you have awoken, please sit down, breakfast is ready, she said smiling. Issei, what is your true power, Surziches said quietly to himself in the darkness. I am really in it now, how should I continue from here, well I guess I will have to take out all the Maos, one by one, or what should I do instead, Issei smirked to himself while walking into the kitchen. End of the part 1. So how was this story, I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.